this recording going. Sometimes everything freezes when I start the recorder. No, it looks like it's good. So, yeah. So, you know, I'm seeing pretty close to the same amount of students I used to regularly, which was about usually around 15 and never quite as high as 20 in a week. And that's perfect, you know? So
Yeah.
it's,
Good.
yeah. Yeah. Did you get up to your Airstream and take care of your battery problem?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. You remember? Yeah, I did.
Did you do it on your
I
bike?
rode my bike up there, and actually I've been up there a couple times because ride it up there, set up the solar panel, and then go back a couple days later to see where the battery level is and all that stuff. And so I rode my bike up there, which was extremely pleasant just to get outside. And then I went up a couple days later, but the second time I went up, I made a big loop and made that the return on the bike. So now I'm just back out. We haven't done anything that violates the social rules, but I'm actually back outside riding my bike.
Yeah, I think that's good.
That feels really, really good. So
yeah. I saw a complaint from a neighbor in like a next door type thing or something like that, saying that, you know, when people run by my house, they really should have masks on. And I'm kind of thinking, maybe if they come to your front porch and blow on you or something, but, you know, even if you're on your front porch and they're running by on the sidewalk.
Yeah, 6 feet is sufficient, I think.
I think so, you know.
I think everybody should be okay, but you know, people are understandably anxious about all this stuff, as well as, and certainly in my case, there's a cabin fever has clearly set in.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, I'm filling all the time up, no doubt. I do, like everybody else, I decided to finish my taxes by the real tax day. I didn't file them, but I finished them.
Okay.
By the tax day, just sort of as more as a goal, just to do something. You know,
yeah.
Something productive done at all. So
perfect. Yeah.
So.
Well, what's happening on that? How did your musical week go?
Well, you know, I after last week, what I started doing was started working on two things. One was Vincent. Looked at Shades of Funk. I haven't actually gotten around to it, but I was working on Vincent just because it falls into that category of it's familiar, and so I have a sense of it gives me a bit more of a sense of timing and all.
Sure.
And so that was the week's finger picking exercise, which I'm still working on. I'm sort of have in my mind, and I'll play this for you in a minute, but I have in my mind everything up to the first ending and then the repeat, pretty much. So then, and their timing of everything, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. That's really important to me in that particular thing. And then the other thing was I sort of went back to Here Comes the Sun as well, an exercise in that was a sort of a hopeful redemption song to revisit. And similarly there, well, there's so many great challenges in that, but similarly there, timing and all, and I'm kind of through. I'm through the way that you play it at the beginning of the preview. So instead of going on to the second page, which is kind of, you know, which now I want to do. Now I want to actually, now I want to follow through on the whole thing. But what I've been doing is ending up with the, I don't have a pick in my hand, but
yeah.
ever had. So that's what I've gotten to.
Good.
Using that as the ending. But Vincent has been interesting for all kinds of reasons. It's been well, it's a challenge like everything is, but it's been a lot of fun because I'm trying to work on all those things that we've been working on anyway, hand position and all of that. And then just one more thing. The other thing on Here Comes the Sun, I like many things. I can play it more comfortably at the 5th fret than I can play it here at the nut or even at the 7th fret. For whatever reason, I seem to be better naturally positioned here, I suppose there. So anyway.
Yeah, there are a couple of reasons for that. But I would definitely encourage you to play it capoed up there. I'd say the 5th would probably be better than the 7th, even though the original's at the 7th, right? But I think even by the 7th, it's getting squished up there, you know.
Yeah.
But so the 5th, I would play it at the 5th usually if I were you. But there's 2 reasons it's easier. One is the frets are obviously closer together, so you don't have to make as big a stretches or jumps. Okay, but the biggest thing, and I would think you might know this, but is the capo lowers the action on the guitar. See, it presses the strings down, so now you don't have to push them down as far as you would if you weren't capoed.
Right.
So it's much easier on your hand.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a good thing.
What, is that? I mean, that would seem to be like a generally true kind of thing.
Yes.
I mean, is a for example, is a short scale guitar easier to play than a full scale guitar?
Not necessarily, but because the scale difference, it's only about a ½ an inch shorter in between what they call long scale, which is like 25.4, I think, as opposed to 23.9 in terms of inches of length. So it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But people like James Taylor play pretty much everything capoed at the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th fret. He rarely plays a song open. And like even the instrumental that I did a version of that I played a few months ago that I heard of his, which was this British tune called Jerusalem. I don't know if we talked about that at all, but I listened to his an audio book that he put together called Break Shot. It's like about a 90-minute audio thing, and it's an autobiography, the first 21 years of his life. It's fascinating, and it's like on Audible. But I think my wife has kind of discontinued her. She had a subscription for a few months, and it's like, okay, it's kind of run its course. There's enough other books on tape I can get and stuff like that. Anyway, in the middle of this, every once in a while, he would play something, and or just have a quick sample of something. And this tune jumped out at me when he played it because I knew the tune because Emerson, Lake and Palmer had done it, and it's a song that the British monarchs have for years felt that it would be a better British national anthem than God Save the King or Queen, you know. But see if you recognize the tune. You probably will. But so he capoed it at the 2nd fret, and that just makes the fingering much easier, and it makes the guitar sound a little bit more delicate. But something like oh wait, I have the music right there. I was so enamored with his arrangement of it that I wrote it out, you know, and I thought, you know, I'm going to do a lesson on this. I'll just play a little bit of it, but well, it's actually really short. But see if you recognize this tune. Anyways, does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought his arrangement of this was so cool and neat to play on the guitar. And I pretty much always play it capo to the second now because I've got it like ingrained in my head that that's the pitch it has to sound at, or you know. But when I play it without it, I notice, oh yeah, it's a little more work playing without the capo, because you just have to push down harder the strings, you know, because the height of the strings at the nut, you want that to be as low as possible, but if it's too low, it'll buzz all over the place.
Right.
But then what the capo does is it pushes the strings down at the second fret to, I mean, it already lowers the action, and now nothing still buzzes, and so it's much easier to maneuver. So same deal with Here Comes the Sun. So if you have a capo there and you want to play it at the seventh, oh, do you want to play that first, or you want to go into Vincent first, or?
Well, let's do since we're talking about it, we'll do Here Comes the Sun.
Okay.
At the fifth.
And you're doing this always with a pick then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I have to reorient my mind here. Gotta get the right music sitting in front of me here. I've been reading the Mark Lewin song, Tune In, book about the Beatles. That's on in ebook style. The size of font I read is 4,000 pages long. I'm on page 2,000.
Oh, okay. So you're blasting through it.
Yeah. Let's see. At this point, they've come back from Hamburg, and Pete Best is still the drummer. And I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
All kinds of reasons. It's really interesting. It's quite a. We're nowhere near Here Comes the Sun yet. I mean, George,
right.
we're nowhere near that. So
yeah.
Yeah, let me show you here.
Yeah, just warm up.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Very rough. Sorry.
That's okay. There's a lot of really good things going on in there, and a couple of things that we can fix up pretty quickly, I think. The first thing that's great is your right hand is keeping really steady rhythm. You know, it's like the downs and the ups are working exactly the way they need to for that whole thing to come together. And so and just the more you play it, the more give you a little better view here. There we go. The more you play it, the more the accuracy of, you know, getting each little note that you need will, it's definitely going to, you know, keep improving, right? So you're aiming for all the right stuff. So you know what's supposed to happen in there, you know? Two or three little things. In the third line, when it goes to the E7 chord, that note right there, that is at the last measure, the last note in the measure of G, has to keep ringing over the E chord, right? So you have to let go of that G chord sooner. When I put this finger on right here, I'd already let go of the G. I was heading to E. Watch this. I go to the G. and then I land on the E. The same way in the beginning, that open B at the end of the measure of D, right? That B right there that precedes the G in the bass.
Yeah.
This is that B is really part of the G measure, not part of the D measure, right? It just comes in early. I mean, it's in the D measure. It's on the and of 4. It's the last eighth note in the measure, right?
Right.
And so again, that one's an easy one to connect because it's open. You know, you just got to hit the open string on your way to the G. This one is the exact same situation, but it's 10 times harder because it's not an open note. You have to get it on before you get the E chord on, and then keep it ringing while you land on the E chord. So what you don't want to have is you're on the G, and you've still got the G on in the bass, and then you put this finger here. It should never look like this, because now you have to get this finger, you have to keep this one on, get this one off, and start building your E chord. Too much stuff to try to do all at once. So it should look like this. If I'm going to freeze frame it, like right on that note, I'm already like halfway to my E, or I've got everything off, ready to land on the E right behind it. See if you can try that.
Okay.
You can take it from that measure of G, which is the third measure of the third. Oh, you can go back to the D. You can go back to the D if you want.
Right.
And this is when the melody is the "Here Comes the Sun" melody, right? The end of the G, right?
Oh, it's here though.
It's that one, yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's one more note. Try that again. No, it goes back to the F sharp. Right? Then the D. So you have one more melody note before the D.
So it's here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm sort of lost what I did there. To go to the E, it's
right. And now the D, right? And right there, when you hit that D, your third, you shouldn't have that G on anymore. Right. Try that again.
got it. Oh, okay. I got it. I see. Yeah. Okay.
Get out of there.
Oh, this is okay.
Right. That's the spot.
That's the one. Okay. Now I see.
Right after you hit that bass note, you hit the G in the bass on the fourth beat.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. As soon as you hit that G, take it off.
Right.
Kill it right away, and then put the D on. Right. And then the E chord right behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. Taking the wrong one on.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, and the D won't be on when you hit the G. The D won't be on when you hit the G.
Okay.
So you're going to take the one off and put the other on at the same time. And then the chord. The E chord, yeah. Right. That's it, yeah. That's it. See how that, see the moves there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the way that has to connect. And then keep the D on, right? So the D stays on over the E chord. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it. Got it?
Okay.
Okay, then keep going. Go into what happens next.
Okay. After that is uh, the.
So practice this part without the slide, just starting right here when you have these two notes at the 4th and 3rd frets.
Yeah.
What you need to work on here is the picking. It's got to sound like this. All 12 of those notes are equal eighths, but they're in groups of 3.
Right.
And so it can't sound like this. What I'm doing there is playing the 3rd one as a quarter note.
Yeah.
It's okay. So the picking is really important, that we do this with this technique called cross picking. So you got to be really consistent with the right hand, that it doesn't go down, up, down. If you do that, I mean, as I was mentioning earlier about this song, you're getting really good at keeping rhythm with your right hand, right? So that's starting to become a normal thing. So if you play this part with a picking pattern that feels comfortable, you're going to go down, up, down, and then you're going to have like a missing up when you start the next one on the next down. And that turns that 3rd note into a quarter note.
Quarter note, yeah.
So this little set of 12 notes, just practice it isolated and make sure that your pick goes. So cross picking again means you're going in the direction of the next note, the next string. It means you're not alternating with a regular pattern. You're doing whatever the virus tells you to do. You know?
Okay.
So it's going to be down, down, up on all 3 of these, because you're going in the direction of the next one you're going to hit. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up.
Okay.
Okay, try that.
Okay. So.
And then back to your second fret. One more. Wait, it goes back to the 2nd fret. There are 4 of these, not just 3.
Oh.
From the 4th fret, the string that's changing goes from the 4th to the 2nd to open and back to the 2nd.
Right.
Open, back to the 2nd before we have the last 4 notes.
Oh, okay. Right. All right.
Okay, now try to get the picking right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Did you feel that? I mean, that's
Yeah.
how that goes. And see how that's a little different than what you were doing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then you start the last 4 notes, you go back to alternating. You know, now you go back into your normal thing. Right. And make sure, take that 1 note further when you do that little scale. Make sure you take it all the way to the bass note that is the beginning of the next measure. Because then you're back. Okay, so don't just play those 4 notes, because you got to get the bass note right behind it, the open D right behind it.
Okay. So it's.
Hang on. Wait, didn't quite go right. Start again. No, there's 1 more still.
1 more here.
Go back. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Yeah. Try again. Okay, so
I just,
isolate that whole thing. That was perfect, right?
yeah.
And you got all the ups on the first string came out right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So it's always okay. Down, down, up till we get back to this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, so I'm suggesting again isolating this and starting without the slide into it, but that's going to change something that you will have just practiced when you're doing this. So I'll address that just real briefly for a second. But so again, what we're trying to do here is isolate, you know, the 4 sets of 3 down, down, ups, right? Then you have a set of 4 that is just normal alternating down the scale, and the bass note from the first beat from the next measure.
Right.
Right. So here's that whole thing done really slowly. Then you can go back and watch later. And then I'm back into the strumming on the D chord, right? Okay, so when we put the slide back in, we've got the measure that starts here, and we just played the equivalent of that's all, or it's all right, and then we slide in here, and that's actually going to be an up because it would be the last 8th note of the measure. So you're going to switch your finger down here to your 3rd finger,
Right.
hit it as an up, and then slide it to the note that we have been hitting as a down as this exercise.
Right.
But you're not going to hit it. You're going to miss that first down because the slide took care of it for you. So you will have been practicing this, starting this with the down, but that first down is actually not going to happen when you put the slide back in, because the slide it's going to take it over. So you're going to hit this as an up, slide it up to here. That's the down that you now don't play. Okay. So, but I really want you to have everything else in that like perfect before you try to, because then it's like now we're going to undo something that you just did, which is starting this with a down there.
Right. Okay. But it would be
exactly. That was it. Perfect.
Right?
That's it.
Okay.
That's the way it's really going to work. Right. Yeah. Except again, now those quarter notes in there again. That you weren't hurrying back to the beginning of the next one. That again, you played it like your old way. I mean, okay. It was right. You switched the picking. You got to the down, down, up thing, right? But you still got in your head this.
Okay.
Right? And it's got to be this.
Okay.
So let me do that. I'll do the whole thing a little bit slower with the slide, with everything done from the measure before. Okay, that should be enough for you to work on. Try it one more time from there. Okay. Just up, yeah, from the slide.
Slide? Okay, well, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me do it one more time. One
Sure.
more time. Sure. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see what I can work on that. So later on, when you get to, is it the same?
Exact same thing. The picking's the same. Down, down, up. And because you did the same thing there, you had a little extra time on the 3rd note every time, right? So it's got to sound like this.
Okay. Okay.
And earlier, so that's the way it happens at the end. You do come out of this, right? Cuts right to the ending. But in the middle of the song, there are 2 parts in the song that you didn't play today, and one of them is pretty easy. It's the A7 part where you have this. It's like 4 measures of A7 with this little climbing melody. I don't think you played that. You might have. Okay, you didn't, right.
I didn't.
And then the other part, but that part should be, if you haven't looked at it too much yet, it's not too difficult. Kiss of Death, tell you, oh, it's going to be easy. You'll snap right through that, no problems. Well, we'll see what happens, right? But then there's this, the first time we hear this, it really comes with another set of 3, this hammer-on. So the first time we hear that thing that happens at the end, it comes out of a measure of D and 2 beats of A7. And then we have this a hammer-on from A to C sharp to E that leads us into the F thing. So it's this. And this goes on multiple times. Now I'll do that a couple times slower because this is also really tricky rhythmically. It's the same type of thing in the part we worked on. There's this heavy syncopation in there where the accents are not on normal beats. And it's because the accents come every 3rd eighth note now rather than every 2nd eighth note, which is where quarter note beats happen, right? So it's almost like when you're tapping this, you start tapping at a different speed. Like I started tapping dotted quarter notes. I started tapping groups of 3/8 notes, right? Okay. And that's what happens. And so that's what happens in this other part. It's 5 sets of 3. That's the part we just talked about is 4 sets of 3, right? This one is 5, I think. Oh, it's 5 and a half. The first one is a hammer-on from open to the 4th, and then the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So that's coming out of an A7 chord. You would have had an A7 on, and then hammer on there, and then the next 3 sets of these are the ones you just played at the end. The little F chord, the C chord, the G with B in the bass, and where it gets really confusing is the next set of 3 is 3 notes on a G chord, G, B, D. But that D is the beginning of a measure of strumming of D. Even though it feels like it's the 3rd of 3/8 in there, it lands on beat 1 of the next measure. And so there's a strum on a D chord that happens after that has to be a quarter note later. So this was a long flow of eighth notes. It was like 15 eighth notes in a row.
Right.
And when you play the last part, go.
This one right here.
Yeah. After you play the first 2 notes, the G and the B, get out of there. Before you play the D, head to a D chord.
Oh.
Right. Hit the bass note first by itself. Hit the D alone.
Okay.
And the strum. Yeah, and the strum has to be later than that. It has to be a quarter note away. Yeah, and now you've just strummed the 2nd beat of the measure. You know, now you're in a measure of strumming of a D chord, and the bass note was on beat 1 and the strum was on beat 2.
Okay.
Okay, and then you strum that measure for a little while, and you go back to A for, so this is a thing that says like 6 times repeat or something. This is where they're singing, sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. I'm gonna slow it down. Sun, 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 here it comes. Do one more. Sun, 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 here it comes. And then we have these measures of A. All these A7s with that little climbing melody, which finally send us back to the beginning. Little darling, into like the next verse.
Okay.
Okay. So that's pretty much everything that happens in that song. So you got a few little few more little parts to look at. So
Okay. Okay. Well,
we'll
that's okay.
revisit that next week. But let's get into
That's a good week's worth right there.
that. Might be, yeah, it might keep you busy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, maybe even more.
yeah. There is so much in this song. It's I just loved having people play "Here Comes the Sun" because it's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's okay. Well, that's exciting. Okay. Do we have? Yeah,
Yeah, let's see what's going on with Vincent.
Vincent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Vincent, we're back to the open fret here.
Right.
Okay. I have to. Blow my nose and figure out what I'm doing here. Got different set of music. So now we're in eighth notes that through the whole thing, through the whole first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to, well, the first 7 frets or 7 measures.
Yeah, pretty much a steady flow of eighths, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a steady flow of 8 notes, and the starry, starry night part comes in on 3.
Yeah, that's the last 4 eighth notes.
And when do you play that? Is it that as opposed to? Is it
Are you asking about your right hand or your left?
right hand?
Yeah, thumb for the first one and index
Finger for the second one. Yeah, that's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, because then your thumb, then you have a pinch right behind it, so you don't want your thumb to have just played that note up on the 3rd string, and then have to get back to the 6th and do the pinch. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let me just.
So one more thing first before you start.
Yep.
Last week we talked a little bit about hammer-ons and pull-offs and speed of them and stuff. Okay? Get the rhythm of that melody in your head. Starry, starry. Whoa, sing the right notes, but the rhythm is more important. Make sure it sounds like that, not like this. Right? Starry, starry. Make sure it matches up with what you would sing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Not yet, not that much. So
Okay.
have your middle finger, have your middle finger on your right hand ready to play that note on the second string right after your first finger, played.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally park it there?
No, just have it nearby. Yeah, you never want to really be parked on a string, unfortunately.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I can't say never. There are times, but not this.
Okay. Okay.
That's good though. That was looking really good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Blues right
Are you playing the second ending?
No, I wasn't. I got lost. I got
Okay.
lost.
Well, then you would have been at the end again. You would have been like in the first ending where you already got to one time and then you hit the repeat, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's great. A couple of little things. So we've got the little beginning part of the melody, and then all we need at the beginning of this G chord is the G on in the bass. But eventually, in a couple beats, couple eighth notes, we're gonna have to add the high G on as well, right? Okay.
Right.
Once that high G goes on, leave it on, because we need it there again later on in the measure after you've added the C on that happens in here. Okay, so as much as possible, you want everything that's part of the chord that's going on at the time to be down all the time. You don't want to be moving it notes on and off because you don't need them, that are, especially in this case, one you're going to need again in 3 beats or 3 notes, right?
Okay.
Let me take a look at that again. Yeah, so I hang on to that high G and then add the C, and I don't even take the C off until the beginning of the next measure.
Right.
Now I have to take the high G off for the open E, and then I add the D and the C again before I head into the A minor.
Right.
That all make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, try that all again, and put that when you put the high G on, leave it on from the beginning.
Okay.
Add the hang on to that G. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, and then when you go to the A minor, a couple of things about the A minor were really good. One is that hammer on that happens in the second measure or the first measure of the next line is really quick because it's 16th notes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it's the and, isn't it? No, it's not one and. It's the middle of that.
Right, it's halfway to the end. Okay, so the way we count 16ths to give them like labels. You know, the and marks the 8th note, which means if I break something into 4, the 8th note is going to be the 3rd one of the 4. So we're still going to use and for that. So we need a name for the 16th before the and the 16 after the and, right? What we usually do for those is go 1 E and So we use E for the second 16th, and for the third 16th, and for the fourth 16th. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's how we count 16ths. But
okay.
In any case, you knew what this is supposed to sound like, and that hammer on has to be quick, right?
Yeah.
Because the note after it is the one that has to come on the and. So that's, anyway, you did a great job on that. Take it from the first measure of the A minor once.
Okay.
Oh, because it's not even A minor, right? We don't now see. I've got here. Okay, so this just is an exception to what I just told you a minute ago, which is I'm calling that chord A minor, but we don't want to have a whole A minor on really because we're going to play the second string open all the time.
Right.
Right. Which makes the chord really what?
Okay, it's not A minor, and so we're going to play the open B there. So what comes before the minor?
So what number is B in an A scale, in an A or an A minor scale?
It's 2.
It's 2. Okay, so we have the number 2 in the name of this chord. And we have one other important element here. I'm not sure if we've talked about this before, but if we had C in there, it'd be an A minor chord.
Right.
If we had C sharp in there, it'd be A major.
Correct.
Okay? We don't have any C in this chord. There is no third in the chord. It's not major or minor. So we have a special word that is used to mean exactly this, that means no third, and the third has been replaced by the second in this case.
Okay. Is this a diminished chord?
No, we'd have to, the fifth would have to change for it to be diminished. Diminished and augmented chords deal with the fifth. I mean, the fifth.
Is it sus2?
Yes, that's what sus means. Suspended is the magic word that means no third. And there are two suspended chords, sus2 and sus4.
2 and 4.
Right, and that's what I mean. It's when the third has been replaced by one of its neighbors.
Okay.
Second or the fourth, okay? Anyway, so to be really specific here in this song, if I wanted to be really accurate from what we're playing, I would call this chord A sus2. The reason I wouldn't is that violins, he sings a C in the melody at one point. And the violins in the orchestra are playing Cs. So really the overall harmony of this is A minor.
Okay.
But we're playing, you know, if we just isolate the guitar part and throw everything else away, it's really incorrect for us, or for me, to call this chord A minor. But I want you to think it's A minor, you know, and just see that, oh, it's a kind of weird A minor. Anyway, so keep going.
Right.
Play those measures again.
Okay, so it's, okay.
Yeah, now that's really good. The very last note of that second measure, what's happened is he's let go of this chord early because he's heading to C, and his third finger has to let go of that. Notice the last note is open.
Right.
Right. So you got to bail on that A minor chord and head for the C, so that, because if you play it like properly as A minor, and of course it's A minor now because we've brought the C into the melody, right? But if you play that last note and have the whole A minor chord on, the last thing you're going to hit is this A, and it's going to sound like this. I got to let go of it and get to the C right after it. So it's much better to let go of it earlier and play a G that is going to continue to ring. We've seen this. We've seen this in "Here Comes the Sun." It's basically, again, the last note is part of the next chord, not part of the current chord.
Right.
Okay. So, so this is not particularly difficult, but it's just something you got to pay a little extra attention to, and not take it for granted that you finish this measure with the whole A minor down. You got to be on the move right there.
Okay. 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 Let me go through the A minor part then. Okay. A sus2.
Actually, wait. So you don't want to take the C has to go back on.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the measure, so the C comes off. We have an open B, and take it from the hammer on.
It goes like this, right? Well.
Yeah, except don't let go of that high C, because you're going to need it on the C. Oh, yeah, don't let go of the high C yet. Carry it over.
Oh, we're going to need, oh, I see. I got you. Okay.
Well, actually, to be really correct, we are not going to play that C in the next measure. But we want it on when we go to the C chord. And then we're going to take it off when we need it open halfway through the measure.
I got it. Okay, so
we want it ringing at the beginning.
Okay, I see. Okay, so it's
yeah. Right, and that's the C major 7. Just let me see.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah. It had to come off. Right, you have an open B on the A minor still. So the C comes off in the middle of the measure, then goes back on at the end of the measure.
Right.
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 Back on right there, right? Back on right there.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it.
and then open for that last note. Yeah. Yeah. And the C is still ringing. See, you still got that high C on.
Right.
And then
Sleep.
you're off in a couple beats, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything else you did after that, the C and the D7 were all great. And I really liked something else you did with the Ds, which is you went into the D pattern, or the right hand pattern of using your thumb on the 4th and 3rd strings. Not necessary in this song, but way encouraged. It's what I would tell somebody to do in this. Just be consistent with when you're on a D chord. Your thumb covers the 4th and the 3rd strings.
Right.
It's essential in an alternating finger picking song. You know, when your thumb's going back and forth like that. It's not as necessary in an arpeggio song like this, but it's just a really good habit to be in. That, you know, you go to D and you go to 2 fingers and your thumb covers 2 strings.
Right. Okay.
It was good to see you do that, because that's how I would recommend somebody do it. But if they insisted on not doing it that way, I wouldn't give them any more lessons.
Okay. So when I bridge through this, or not bridge is the wrong term, but go past the second ending here into the chorus, it's basically the same kind of the same bass.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the second ending itself. Yeah. The second ending itself starts with the same type of pattern, a double thumb, and
Right.
then the slide and pull off, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
You got to. So after you play the first 4/8 notes, then you put on the 2 notes of a C chord, right? And you hit them, pinch them, and then you pinch them and then slide them up a whole step, right? Really slowly. Wait, hit the right 2 strings. Make sure your right hand gets the right 2 strings.
These 2.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Wait, and it's not fast. It's just equal 8th notes, so don't slide fast.
Do I hit it when I come back?
Yes, you're gonna hit it. You're gonna hit it again. You're gonna pinch it again after you've slid up. I mean, no. When you come back to the C, you're gonna pinch it again and pull it off.
Okay.
Wait, careful. Wait, get it the right fret. Second fret. No, wait. Yeah, your second finger is over the fret. Your second finger on your left hand is playing the 3rd fret. Get it back to the 2nd fret. No?
Sorry, here?
No?
No, here. I'm sorry.
There, yeah.
Yeah, brain fade, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pull them both off, even though it doesn't say that specifically in the music.
Pull them both?
Pull them both off, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you land on a D chord again. Yeah. And then you just have another, interesting, in the next measure, the bass note comes in late. You don't play a bass note on beat 1. You see that?
Yes.
Right? So listen to, here's what the second ending sounds like pretty slowly. And then I'm on to the A minor, and the rest of the chorus is pretty much just very similar to everything else you did, usually double thumbs and stuff like that, and just running through chords with a few little connecting notes, you know, A minor to D7 to G. The bass descends on the G chord, and where I have F sharp in parentheses, there actually is another note. See, there's a note on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string.
Yeah.
So it's not literally still a G chord anymore. It really changes it to more of a D chord, but it doesn't matter. The F sharp is the most important thing going on in there in the bass.
Right. Okay.
But
so that F sharp, you're playing that here?
Yeah, and usually for that type of thing, it's a descending bass line. I'll play through this whole little part real slowly for you so you can have it at the end of this recording. And usually when you go to F sharp in the bass, it's with your 2nd finger. So your second finger is going to play the F sharp. And then as it turns, then your third finger is available to play the note up on the third string that's going to happen in just a beat later. Right. So that's really what you're going to right there. That's why I think of this more as a D chord with F sharp in the bass rather than a G with F sharp in the bass.
Okay.
But it's a really common just transitional chord between G and E minor. Whether you're thinking of it as a D chord or a G chord, it doesn't matter. It's the F sharp's the important thing. We're really just hearing. And I just played a whole bunch of you couldn't even hear the other notes I played, and it didn't even matter. You hear that descending bass thing. So let me play through that whole up until the E minor pretty slowly. So from the A minor, we have this. Ah, wow. So after what I just told you about the D7s that I liked in the first part, these D7s I would not do the double bass with. And the reason is, if you look at the first measure of D7, we play the third string on the second eighth note and also on the fourth eighth note. So in this section, and the same thing happens in the D7 that happens up at the end, that type of pattern, it's not the double thumb pattern, because we're going to need another thumb just before the next double thumb if we do that.
Okay.
So maybe make a note of that in that section, in that part, go with the same three fingering on the right hand.
Okay.
Which probably means that might be even a better idea to do back in the first part. I mean, the part that I told you to stay with the double thumb. But I also said it didn't really matter. And if somebody insisted on doing it the other way, I wouldn't really have a problem with that. But this part makes it logical to do it the other way. I mean, to do it the straight arpeggio way.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, reality of the situation, this song really is more of an arpeggio song than an alternating bass song.
Right.
Did you talk about Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Led Zeppelin song?
I'm sorry, which one?
Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Led Zeppelin.
Well, I certainly know the song.
Okay, we'll look at that one sometime in the near future, because it really pushes the double thumb idea.
Okay.
Anyway, so we'll put that on your list of things to do in the next month or two. But
Okay.
you should call it for now. But that was fun. A lot of good progress on both those tunes, I think.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I love doing this.
Yeah.
It's a great mental, physical challenge.
Yeah.
And with that, the added great thing of familiarity with what we're doing. So
yeah.
so it's really good. So